Welcome to Swaggerslifestyle.
Hello and welcome. How you doing? This is Gbogbo Swagger and welcome to Swagger's Lifestyle. It's always amazing coming to have wonderful conversations with you. Today, I need to tell you something. I'm sure a lot of you do not know, but do you know that Kenya is a major exporter of tea, coffee, and fresh flowers, especially rose flowers? So when you have that bunch of rose flowers sent to you, it might just be from Kenya. Welcome to another session of A Nigeria Living In. Today, we are taking an amazing trip to Kenya. So I said, who will I have this conversation with? And then one thing happened. I went online and I stumbled upon this amazing writer, an amazing travel blog. It is called www.travelwithapen.com. And I saw her experience as regards relocating to Kenya, and I was like, okay, this is the person I need to have a conversation with as regards Kenya. So I sent her an email and invited, and I have her here today. So I'll just allow her to please introduce herself.
Okay, thank you. Hi, everyone. My name is Amarachi. I am a Nigerian living in Kenya. I've been here for the past 2 years, I think. And yeah, I think as it's already been mentioned, I'm a travel blogger. I write about my experiences traveling across Africa and everywhere else on my blog. And I think that's it about me.
Thank you so much for honoring our invites and for coming here to have this conversation today. So let's go straight into the conversation. How did you relocate to Kenya?
So it's a bit of a long story. I don't know whether you want to hear the long version or the short version, but maybe I just say the short version.
We want to hear it. Oh, probably short version.
Yeah. So I got transferred here for work. My husband got transferred, and then I asked for the transfer as well. So both of us got transferred from our various jobs in Nigeria to Kenya. So that's the short version of how we got here.
Oh, that's wonderful. Now, how were you able to settle down in Kenya?
So it was quite easy because I think Kenya just has all the infrastructures needed to allow experts to settle down quickly. I think the major thing was trying to look for a house and trying to get your bearings in a new country. And in Kenya, there are like expert groups that you can you can post your request into, and you find like a lot of information in those groups. And I think it was very easy. Like if you just know the area you want to live in and you have a good enough budget, there's always something for everyone. And then in terms of finding your bearings around the country, like both my husband and I were travelers at heart, so it was a bit easy for us to settle in. So it wasn't difficult at all.
Oh, great. So when you heard that you were actually going to relocate to Kenya, how did you feel?
To be honest, I mean, it was very exciting because for me, I love to travel, like I mentioned, but this was going to be the first time I was going to leave outside Nigeria. So I think, as expected, I was a bit apprehensive living somewhere I was born and raised in. All my friends, my family is still in Nigeria, and all the things that you love. You already have like a routine in Nigeria, and then you're going to abandon all of that and move to a new country. So for me, it was a bit scary, but it's been really amazing so far. So I have no complaints.
I'm sure. And because you mentioned earlier that Kenya has the infrastructure and everything, so I think it made it easy for you to adapt into the new
Yeah,
environment.
that's correct.
Yeah. So what is the staple food in Kenya? What's the language of the people?
Okay, so in Kenya, the official language is Swahili, and you find in Nairobi most people speak English and Swahili, and sometimes they speak something in the middle. I don't know if it's officially called Swahili English, but I think that's that's what I like to call it. Uh,
Swahili
yeah,
English.
because
That's
like you
nice.
you hear them a lot speaking English, but like injecting Swahili into it all the time. So that's the official language. And but if you move outside Nairobi, you still find people speaking English, but most people will speak Swahili as well. And the
So
staple food I believe is ugali, but I'm very I'm very ashamed to say that I've actually not tried that since being here. um,
Okay.
ugali is like I don't know what I'm going to compare it with Nigeria. Maybe I'd say like pounded yam, but not the same consistency. That's the staple food here. Yeah, they do have something called matoke, which is like plantains, but it's I think it's in the same family class with bananas and plantains, but it's not plantains. It's different a bit. So I think that's my favorite Kenyan food, if I was to mention one
Oh,
thing.
that's nice.
And I think the rest is just things that we're familiar with, like beans, rice, and all of that. So it's almost the same.
Oh, great. So you said that their official language is Swahili. So have you learned the language?
Yeah, I've been trying to learn it, and I feel very ashamed because I've stayed there for 2 years and I still don't speak.
Wow.
But because Swahili is quite easy to learn, and I've done like a whole course and even finished the course, but I still can't speak fluently. And I feel like that's because most of the people I interact with
They speak
speak English.
English.
So there's no, extra incentive to learn it because I'm communicating effectively without learning it.
But can you introduce yourself in Swahili? Is that possible?
Uh, okay, mimi ni Amarachi. Nina sifahamu Kiswahili. Nimesema pole pole. I say little things like that.
Well, you tried. You gave it a shot. At least you tried.
I did. I tried.
Yeah, that's good. Now, what is the major occupations of Kenyans? What are they known for? And also, what are their people like?
Okay, so I would say Kenyans are very friendly. They're warm, they're approachable, they're calm, they're calmer than Nigerians, let me put it that way. So it's my experience with the Kenyans I've met has been overwhelmingly positive, and everyone is friendly, nice to interact with, and that's been great. Um, I think in terms of occupation, it's just like any other country. So I'm primarily based in Nairobi, which I think is probably the biggest city in Kenya. And you find all kinds of occupation, doctors, bankers, just same as you find anywhere else, engineers and all of that. Um, Kenya itself, it's very big on tourism, so you find lots of people in that sector. Tour organizers, people that take you out of the city to different places. So you find lots of that here as well. Lots of people in the hospitality sector as well. But yeah, it's basically the same kind of occupations you find everywhere.
Everywhere.
Yeah.
Okay. That's good. Now, what were the cultural shocks you experienced?
I think for me, it hasn't been that much shocking because like there's a lot of similarities between Nigeria and Kenya. I think if I was to mention something, I would say it's in terms of um, like interactions. So I think
Okay.
Kenyans are more reserved compared to Nigerians. So if I were to give an example, like if I were to move to Nigeria for the first time, I think that maybe my office colleague would have invited me to their house, would have, I think Nigeria has that, in your face friendliness. Like
Yeah.
it's very there, but Kenyans are more reserved. And I also think another thing I encountered
Mm-hmm.
that is a positive actually was I feel like Kenyans are more trusting. So, for example, here we use a mobile money app
Okay.
thing called M-Pesa, and it's really amazing. Like, I don't think I've had cash since I came here.
Wow.
So I would go somewhere to pay for something, and I would pay, and I would be standing there for them to confirm that I've paid. And they're like, no, you can go.
No, you
Like,
can
we
go.
just believe that you've paid.
You can't try that here in Nigeria where they will
I
be giving you
know.
fake alerts. Wow, wow,
I'm like,
that's good.
can you check? Can you confirm? And they're like, yeah, you can go. It's fine. I'm like, okay. Yeah, so
Wow.
that's been fun.
Oh, that's good. What of the transport system? Any cultural shock? Do we have the same? Do they have the same as we have here in Nigeria, or something slightly different?
So for transportation within the city, they
Mm.
have something called matatu, which is like our danfo.
Okay.
And the matatus here are kind of, they have a life of their own. So I don't know if you've seen um, these buses with like really crazy artwork outside. Some of them have, blaring music inside. I've heard that that's, an experience that everybody coming to Kenya must have. Personally, I've been working from home, so I've not really had the chance to like go around in a matatu, but I think that's interesting. So I would compare that with danfos in Nigeria. And
Oh,
then they call their okadas here boda boda. So
border.
basically the same thing in Nigeria as well. And then, things like Uber, Bolts are also available here. And in addition to that, I think they have this SGR train that goes from Nairobi to the coast.
Hmm.
Really comfortable, super fast, always on time. So I think in that area, I think that's, something that I really loved or I really love about Kenya. So transportation system, a bit similar to Nigeria, but they have something more.
Oh, thank you so much for sharing. Now, what did you have to unlearn and
Nice.
relearn living in Kenya?
So like I said, most of my interactions have been limited because
Mm.
I moved here during COVID era. So
Okay.
and I've been working from home since then, so not really interacting with people that much. But I think for me, some things I've had to unlearn is, I would say, the trust thing. Like, just accept that people are more. I
There to
know,
get you.
yeah. Like, not everyone is out there to get you. Like, people are more trusting, people are calmer. Like, one time I bought something from a supermarket here, and there was like a fault in it. And I was just going to forget about it and not return it because I'd already, torn up the package. And I'm like, there's no way they will receive this thing back with the torn package. And like, I had to talk myself into just going to try, and there was like no questions asked. Returned it, got my money back. I was like, what? So things like that, I think I've just
Wow.
had to embrace the openness and like just accept
Mm.
all of that. And also just being like more free to explore. I think in Nigeria, I did try to visit many of the states in Nigeria, but always like, trying to apply a lot of caution, trying to talk myself in or out of it.
Yeah.
But here it's like easier to just go around. So I think those are things that I've had to like unlearn while being here.
Oh, that's nice. And I'm sure, like, let me just put a cap that life can be actually very easy without
Exactly.
stressing. So, what are the success stories in Kenya that can be replicated in Nigeria?
Yeah, I think there are many. I think that the first thing is government. I feel like Kenyans might argue that I feel like Kenyans might complain the same way we complain about our government. But I think that there's a lot of lessons Nigeria needs to learn from the way the government operates here in Kenya. The infrastructure, again, Kenyans might argue with this, but from a Nigerian's perspective, I think the infrastructure is quite good. Like electricity is almost constant. It's easy to move around. The security is not 100% perfect. I think both countries need to work on that. There's like crime rates in both countries, but I wouldn't compare where I lived in, for example, in Lagos versus Nairobi. There's, I feel a lot safer here. But this is just like my own perspective. I'm not going to say that's the reality, but
Yeah.
that's just how I feel. So I think that, and I also think in terms of the citizens as well, like just everyone just needs to calm down a bit and be more trusting and be more friendly towards people in Nigeria. So I guess those are some stories I would say, or some lessons I would say that Nigeria can learn from Kenya. And then if I were to go the other way, in terms of what Kenyans can learn from Nigerians, I think that
From
Nigerians are,
Nigeria.
very hardworking. They get things done. They're like, very enterprising, which I don't really see.
They have the hustle spirit.
Yes, which I don't really see much of that here. So I think that's something that Kenyans can learn from Nigeria.
Be ready, they might come
I
for us.
know.
But but I would like to say that this is our experience, and we are sharing. Everybody has a right to share their experience, yeah. And in as much as we would love to learn the success stories from Kenyans, Kenyans too can actually learn a lot too from Nigeria. So I think it's actually vice versa. That's how we become better humans at the end of the
Exactly.
day. Thank you so much for sharing this with us. So now we're going to come down to to more okay, the questions I'm going to ask now, I know that it's going to spark a lot of probably controversy. No, let me not put controversy. A lot of people are going to come and say no, but let's just get to it. Now, cost of living, which is more expensive, living in Kenya or living in Nigeria?
Oh, hands down, living in Kenya for sure. Like, there's no even argument about that. So you might, maybe the only argument you'd say is that in terms of the quality you get versus the cost, you can say okay.
Okay.
But I wouldn't even, like, living in Kenya is so much more expensive than living in Nigeria, for sure.
Could you give examples?
Okay, so for example, housing here in Kenya. So we pay rent monthly, which I love, by the way. I think it's such an amazing concept than paying like 2 years in advance or 1 year in advance.
2 years
Yeah.
or a year.
But like the rent here monthly is, you can find rent in the range of like $350 a month to even as high as $3,000 a month. And the average I've seen so far, if you wanted to live in like a certain neighborhood where it's close to work and things like that, you'd be looking at $900 a month and above, like 900 to 1,500, which for me is super expensive compared
That's a lot
to
of
if I
money.
compare area by area. Like, for example,
That's a
if I
lot of
compare
money.
Westlands in Kenya to Lekki in Nigeria, the price you pay in Westlands is way more than what you pay in Lekki. So I think just housing alone is more expensive. I think the cost of fueling is also more expensive. One other thing I found out is, so in Nigeria, you have like your Mama Put's restaurants, then you have like all those
Yes.
fancy restaurants
Yes.
in VI. Then in
Executive,
between, you
yes.
have like your Mr. Biggs, you
You have
have
the-
like,
Yes, there's
there's nothing like
the
that.
fast food.
Exactly. There's nothing like that in Kenya.
It's two
Yes, it's
extremes.
like either you go to the Mama Put's kind of restaurant or you go to the high end restaurant. Like, there's no middle ground. So I think that sell local food. Like, you'll find KFC here, for example. But when I'm looking for local Kenyan food or Nigerian food or anything like that, it's on the opposite side of things. So in those regards, I think that living in Kenya is way more expensive than living in Nigeria.
Wow. Okay, so we'd like to hear from we would like to hear from the audience. Okay, so what do you miss about Nigeria?
For me, I think the biggest one is the food and the prices of the food. Like I mentioned, here in Kenya, you'll find Nigerian food, but like if I want to eat amala, I have to spend like $25 to eat amala when I can just spend like maybe 500 naira in Nigeria. So I miss the food in Nigeria.
$25 to eat
Yes, my
amala.
dear.
Wow. And is the amala
Yes,
malaing?
no,
Or
it
it's
is.
just,
It
you
is
know,
like
it
it is
proper amala.
authentic Nigerian
Ah.
food and tastes really good. If you just close your eyes, you think you're in Nigeria. And then
Wow.
so yes, I miss those middle ground restaurants that are not like high end or not like really, low end. It's just middle. I miss that. Obviously, miss my family members, my friends, and I think I miss my daily
Yeah,
routine as
family.
well. Like, I had a routine in place in Nigeria. I knew where to get the best suya from. I knew where to, make my hair, stuff like that. Here, I've been finding those things, but I'm still finding my way even after 2 years here. I don't feel like I'm fully grounded, but I think that might be my fault as well because I don't go out much and I've been working from home.
Because I don't think you're planning on coming home anytime soon.
I do come home yearly actually. So I was in Nigeria in October last year and I will be there soon this year as well. So yeah, but in
Wow.
terms of moving back to the country, I don't know if I see that in my immediate future because now it's not just me, it's my husband and I, and we have to make those decisions together.
Great. Great. What are the tourist attractions in the country?
Okay, so this is one of like my favorite things about living in Kenya because Kenya is a country that's very big on tourism. So there are lots of places
Yeah,
to
that's true.
visit here. Like for example, we've been here for 2 years and we've been traveling quite a bit and we still haven't been everywhere there is to go in the country. If I were to mention my favorite places, I think most of them are actually outside Nairobi. So I would say, in terms of the
Okay.
beaches, which Kenya has beautiful, beautiful beaches. What There's a place called Watamu. That's like my favorite beach destination. But there's so many places: Diani, Lamu, Kilifi. All of those places are available, but Watamu is my favorite. In terms of safari, safaris, Kenyans have incredible wildlife even within Nairobi city, which just blows my mind that they have an actual national park in the middle of a city. So that's just amazing.
Yeah,
But
that's
my
true.
favorite park is a park called Amboseli, which is about 5 hours away from Nairobi. I really love that. Masai Mara is amazing as well, but Amboseli was my favorite to visit. And then around Nairobi, there's a place called Naivasha, which is like 2 hours away from Nairobi. I think that's my favorite weekend getaway from Nairobi. And in Naivasha, there's a lake. It's called Lake Naivasha, and you can see hippos in the lake. You can see giraffes wandering around, zebras.
Wow.
It's just really amazing.
Well, I actually visited Nairobi in
Okay.
2019. And all these places you're mentioning, I'm wondering because I thought I actually thought I thought Nairobi, like I went to a lot of places, but you've not even mentioned one of the
Did you go to the
places that I
giraffe
visited. So
center,
what it means is I really have to. Yeah, I did,
Yeah.
right? I
Okay.
did. And I went to the like the
Yeah.
canopy walk. Yes, the
Okay.
safari walk. Yes, I went to the safari walk. I went to where they do this their cultural center. I visited a lot of places in Nairobi, right?
Yeah.
But all the places you're mentioning now, you didn't even. So what it means is like I really have to come
You
back.
do have to
Like
come back and you have
I've
to.
not done justice at
Yeah.
all.
Well, Nairobi is
Yes.
nice. I
Yeah.
mean, it's such a diverse city, and if you're coming to Nairobi, you have to go to all those places: the Giraffe Center, Elephant Orphanage, the Safari Walk, Bomas of Kenya.
Yeah,
Those places.
I went that.
But the
Yeah.
real
Bomas
fun
of
is
Kenya, that's
outside
it.
Nairobi, so you need to come back.
I sure
Yeah,
need to come back, and I'm sure that with you in the city,
you
I'm in
are
safe hands. Not well, I'm in good hands. You're just going to lead me like this is the place to
for
go. This is
sure.
the place to
Yeah.
go. Leave all those. So yeah, thank you so much for this. I really definitely have to come back to Kenya and visit all these other places. Trust me, because I'm sitting here in shock. Like, okay, you're flying. That you have been there, man. You've been nowhere.
Yeah.
So thank you for
All
opening
right.
our eyes to these places. Now, what is living in Kenya like?
So it's been nice. It's been I think it's been a calmer lifestyle. There's some things you don't even know that you need, and then you're here and you're like, this is amazing. For example, so I'll just touch on a few things, and the first one I'll say is constant electricity. Like I cannot overestimate how important that is to just have, like, I don't even know, it just has some improvement or it has some
Yeah.
It just makes your life better, I think. Apart from that, I would say
And
the
easy.
nature
Yeah.
is also amazing. So, for example, within Nairobi, apart from all these national parks and all these other beautiful places they have they have like nature parks where you could just go walking, and they have like forests
Wow.
within the city. So there's a place called Karura Forest, and they have another place called Nairobi Arboretum,
Hmm.
which is just you can go ride your bike, you can go walking with your dogs. It's just a beautiful place that's just natural, and it's
Wow.
just really beautiful. And even within the city, like there are trees all around. I hope that doesn't go away with more construction, because there's construction up and coming every day, but it's just nice to have that beauty all around you. And I think that's something that I was missing in Lagos, which is available here. So in terms of living here, I think it's a much calmer lifestyle, not a lot of generator sounds all around, nature. So it's been nice, I'd say.
And I'm sure you see a lot of friendly faces, unlike Lagos, where everybody's keeping a straight face. Like, don't, step on me, don't come on my way. I can deal with you at every time. So, because I feel that Lagosians, sorry, Lagosians, I just feel that they are
Lagos
angry
is so
people.
funny because you actually think that, like angry people and friendly people, they live like side by side so much that you can't even differentiate. For example, in Lagos, you can
Yeah.
just, I feel like we have spontaneous like conversations with just people you meet on the street, and you can just be laughing with someone you just met. And at the same time, I still get the anger part. And I always like to joke that I think the anger part is the sun is too hot. I think that's why. Because in Nairobi, Nairobi, most times the weather is very cool, sometimes cold. So everybody's just like
Mm,
relaxed and cool and
mm.
calm. But like Lagos, the sun is hot, so
I'm
everybody's
chilled.
is agitated. But
Yeah.
yeah, let's
Yeah,
blame it
let's
on the
blame it on
sun.
the sun. Let's blame it on the sun. Okay, so are there things in Kenya that you cannot get away with, whereas in Nigeria you can get away with them?
Uh, uh, I don't know, because I feel like I feel like both countries are kind of similar in in that regard. I
Hmm.
haven't seen a lot of. Let me talk about driving, for example. I haven't seen a lot of rough driving like Lagos in Kenya. They also don't hoot as much as we do.
Oh.
Like you barely hear
Hmm.
the honking signs here, which is you don't even realize it until you think about it, that you actually don't hear a lot of that here. So I don't know if it's because they're heavily policed. I don't see a lot of policemen on the streets. So I think everyone is just like well behaved
Hmm.
most times here. The matatu drivers, sometimes they act like Lagos drivers, but Lagos drivers are still they're still the senior the senior ones. Um, but yeah, I don't know if I don't know I can't think of anything that I would get away with in Nigeria that I would also I probably not get away with here. I just think everybody expects that
Oh,
you behave
okay.
yourself, and everyone tends to align to that here.
Oh, that's good. That's good to know. Now, if you were to choose again, would you choose
You mean if
Kenya?
I was to choose between Nigeria and Kenya? Yeah,
Yes. Or to relocate to any other country in the world, would you still
I
choose Kenya?
think Kenya would be very high on the list. Personally, I'm more biased to countries that have very effective transport systems, which I think is a bit lacking in Africa in general, not just
Hmm.
Kenya. I think it's a bit lacking here. So if I were to choose any other country in the world, I probably favor cities and countries with more effective transport systems than Kenya. But that being said, like I think Kenya is one of the most amazing countries to live in the world. I think that the weather is so beautiful. Like Kenya doesn't have harsh winters that most other cities have. Like the weather is almost perfect all year round. Like I don't think you can get that anywhere else. They have a combination of beautiful, beautiful beaches. I mean, those beaches with like blue waters, and and like, not very harsh
Oh, wow.
waves. You can walk for miles and miles into the ocean. It's just amazing, and it's warm. So you have that. You have the city life, you have wildlife, you have nature, like it's extremely beautiful. So it would be it'd be a very difficult decision to choose. But I think if I were to think about it, Kenya would definitely be on the top of my list of countries to live in. Yeah.
Oh, that is so nice. Oh, oh,
Yeah.
that's nice. So, what would be your advice to anyone that wants to relocate to
I
Kenya?
think my first advice would be to do it properly. So I know some people, they would come to Kenya because the visa is very easy to get. It's an e-visa, and it's like $50, and you can just get it online. So some people will come into the country with an e-visa and want to stay in the country. And I would say that for people in that category, it's going to be a bit difficult to find jobs. And if you don't have a job, then you don't have good living conditions, and it just affects every other thing. So my first advice would be, if you come into Kenya, you have to do it the right way so that you can enjoy what the country has to offer for you without being scared or without losing out on anything. And then I would also say, yeah, when you come, just be open minded, be willing to do a lot of research. There's a lot of information online, and there's a lot of the experts community here is very helpful, and it's quite large. So you'll find a lot of information if you just ask the right people. So just do your research, come in the right way, and I think Kenya is amazing for and very welcoming to visitors.
Oh, thank you so much for that, and thank you for sharing your experience with us. So, I would like to say that now, the reason why we're doing this series is because there's a lot of narrative about Nigerians living outside of Nigeria. Because trust me, most of the narrative are very, very, very saddening and bad. So we are now pushing our own narratives that we have Nigerians living in different parts of the world, and they are doing amazing, and they are living impactful lives, and they are having wonderful experiences. So if you are out there and you like to share your experience with us, probably you are in Nigeria living in any of the countries or any of the cities of the world, and you love to share your experience, kindly send us an email on swaggerslifestyle@gmail.com, and we'll actually want to have the conversation for you to share your experience with the world. Thank you so much, Amarachi, for honoring our invite. And in conclusion, what would you like to say about a Nigerian? Should I put it? Let me recoin. A famous tourist traveler, a wonderful Nigerian living in Kenya. In conclusion, what would you
I like
to
to
say?
say, Nigerians, come visit Kenya. Even if you don't want to live here, I think it's an amazing country to visit. Explore outside Nairobi, because so much of the fun is actually outside. And yeah, just I think expand your horizons, travel around. Kenya is amazing, so definitely come visit.
Thank you so much. And I would like to say that you all should go online, www.travelwithapen.com, and read her amazing stories. Also follow her on Instagram. Trust me, by the time you go there, you just sit. And there's one thing about her stories. It just takes you from where you are and puts you in that city, and you start seeing everything. It's very, very graphic. I'm not trying to patronize. That is how I felt. And I'm sure that by the time you go there, show some love, subscribe, to her newsletter, and also follow her on Instagram. Trust me, you'll come back to say thank you. Till I come your way next time, this is Gbogbo Swagger, and this is Swagger's Lifestyle. Do not forget to do what? Subscribe, like, comment, and also share this with your network. Do take care of yourself. And also, if you're a Nigerian living outside of Nigeria, ensure that you raise our banner and fly it the positive way. Thank you, and bye.